Hello everybody, Danny here, chiropractor and owner of ChiroFamily. I have Nicole, occupational therapist and owner of Functional Kids, and we're coming at you with our Thursday Live. Sorry we missed last week, it was a week. It was busy.
Yes.
But today we wanted to talk about W sitting, specifically how it relates to each of our professions, but also like tips and tricks that we can help your child sit properly.
Yep.
So, do you want me to start or you want to start?
You start. How does it relate to chiropractic care?
So chiropractically, we don't like it. It's bad for structure of the hip, of the knee, of the ankle. I lost my guide sheet here. But basically, if your child's doing it long term, it can cause weakness of the core, which is kind of why they do that in a sense. But if that's going long term into adolescence and even adulthood, that's going to automatically give you low back pain, probably. So that's just something that we want to work on right away, getting your kid out of it. It can also affect sporting, because if your child's going into sports, gymnastics, whatever, and their knees already messed up from that W sitting, then that's just also going to lead to more injuries, more doctor bills probably in the future. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like it just doesn't lead to the best alignment, and so what we see is just that they start to build muscular imbalances, or they're compensating, and so you're seeing muscle weakness in some areas, and then other areas that are stronger, which then as they grow, can lead to some of that instability in the joints, specifically like the knees and the hips. So looking at if they're doing any sort of gymnastics or football, really any sport with the knee, that's a big one. You want to make sure it's really stable.
Yeah, so with the W sitting and the muscular imbalance that Nicole pointed out, it's not a natural position for the hips, so it's really making muscles that shouldn't be tight, and muscles that shouldn't be loose. I'm reconnecting, sorry about that. So that can play a long-term role as well. If those muscles are already imbalanced from ages 1 to 5 or whatever the case may be, then that is also going to play a long-term effect and problems for the future.
Yeah.
So
what do you suggest for if people have kids that are younger and are W sitting? What should they do?
This is probably where I'm going to redirect it to you, but for my patients, I say just constantly recorrect their habit. It's a nasty habit. They do it all the time, and you literally have to crawl around. If they're young enough, you crawl around and follow them, and just try to put them into a different position. Redirecting, I believe, is probably the phrase you'll use. Yes. Also, I do suggest tummy time. So like if they can color on their stomach, and I know you're going to go more into this too, but tummy time, guys, it's good for any age, literally from newborn to adults. Tummy time is awesome for all the things. And then I'll probably hand it over to you because you have more tips and tricks for avoiding W sitting.
Yes, yeah. So I printed off a couple things, so I will probably demonstrate some of these positions here shortly. But like Danielle said, redirecting is the number one thing. The problem is when the kids are younger, even if you redirect them, they're not going to remember or be aware that they're even doing that, and so they're going to continue to go into that position because it's their natural attempt at trying to support themselves in that sitting position. So it's showing that they have core weakness, and just they're looking for more stability. So the best thing you can do is set them up for more stability in that moment. I like to provide choices instead of asking them or telling them they need to change positions, because kids don't like to be told what to do. I don't think anybody does. But giving them options. Do you want to sit with your legs out like this in front of you, or do you want to sit crisscross applesauce? Do you want to lay on your belly for this, or should we go sit at the table instead? I mean, you can always redirect them to play somewhere else if you're finding that they're W sitting a lot when they're playing on the floor. So then some other activities to do would be to really work on that strengthening. So I have a little poster here. It's going to be probably backwards for you guys, but you can see the positions at least. These are some of the main things you want to work on for strengthening. Is you want to be able to do that Superman. So with young kids, that's going to be really hard for them, but even just getting them onto their tummy and can you lift your hands up to give me a high five or 2 high fives? Can you lift up, and can they lift up and grab something off of a stool in front of them and then put their hands down and then lift up again. Putting them in the bridge position. We're gonna do some demonstrations.
Hey.
So, I'm pulling this chair out here. Okay, so having them do Superman, they can do tall kneel like this. They're gonna be obviously shorter, so then you could put your coloring paper up on just a chair or something and have them color in that tall kneel. If you see them doing like this or they're going into this, then I would say give them support at the hips or try and set them up by, you could even like put them between two furniture items to try and keep them from going side to side. And then the other thing I was thinking, besides just positioning, is just putting your dining room chairs out for them and then make them crawl underneath it so they have to army crawl, or just getting them down into that position to work on that. Do you want to demonstrate us a hip bridge?
A bridge?
A hip bridge, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So then the other position that's really good to work on some of these muscles is just a hip bridge.
Do you
So,
recommend their feet to their butt or out a little bit? Does it matter?
it doesn't really matter, just as long as they're getting some of that. So like having them put their legs up like that and then seeing if they can hold it and put one leg up and then the other leg up.
Ooh.
So that's tricky, but seeing if they can do that without letting their hips wobble and fall
Yeah.
to the ground,
Yeah.
that can be a fun way to kind of, I don't know, get them engaged in it at
Yeah,
least.
because the bridge is actually excellent, not only for core strength, but also you're doing your back, hamstring, glutes, all that jazz.
Yeah.
Which is then also going to incorporate into your core strength. So,
Mhm. The other positions that you can do is you can try and have them squat instead. So just doing a simple squatting or doing like Danielle's even doing here, the side sit. So if they feel like they want one hip out like that, that's fine. If they can bring that other leg in, doing crisscross applesauce. And when they do this, they'll probably switch back to the W sit. But when they're in this, giving them a little bit of support behind their hips to hold them in place, or like wrap a blanket around them. Another thing, like Danielle said, is just tummy time. So one thing is making sure that when they do tummy time, that they're on their belly like this, with their legs straight out behind them. A lot of times you'll see them start to go like this with their legs out. And that again can be kind of the opposite, but it's still wonky, or they might put one leg out like this or have it like lopsided. So making sure their legs are straight. And then some things that help with that is like having them lay out like that and then put a heavy blanket or a weighted blanket on their back to give them a little bit more input and support so that they know to keep their legs straight. And then just build them up. Like they probably can do it for 30 seconds to start, but then trying to build up the amount of time that you can get them to stay in those positions will help build up that muscle as well.
mm-hmm. So like if they're doing the side sitting like I'm doing, do you recommend parents try to have them do it on both sides, or in the beginning is that not such a concern?
I don't really care usually what side it is. I'm sure if they're always doing one side or the other, it could lead to being imbalanced, but more, I think you'll notice, like you'll redirect them into a different position, and then you'll see, like you look back 2 minutes later and they've switched back to W sitting. So I just feel like it's so inconsistent usually in the beginning that it doesn't matter. In my eyes, it doesn't matter so much how they sit, as long as it's not the W sit on the knees. So you can do long sitting, or even just sitting out wide, and just working on like rolling a ball back and forth, sitting like this so they can get some of that core control. That can be really good too.
One of my favorite exercises that I actually usually recommend for pregnant moms, because A, you're losing the core, and B, you're also losing your back because of the extension of the belly. I like to do bird dog a lot.
Yes,
you guys do?
Yeah, that's on our list.
So bird dog is when you're on all fours. Sorry, Nicole, I'm kicking you out.
You're good.
And you can either do opposite arm, opposite leg. If a kid's not to that level, then you can just do legs, or you can just do high fives.
Yeah, just high fives is really good to work on too, because you'll see kids that, and this we'll go into on a different day, but a lot of times when you try to do this, you'll see kids, and if they're looking at you, their arms will bend and they can't lift their arm. So that's retained reflexes,
Okay.
which we'll talk about on another day. But just having them down in this position and trying to get them to just like grab something in front of them or give you high fives without completely falling over, just being able to support themselves is going to work on that core strengthening too.
How about
The
sitting
other
like
thing,
this? Since we're sitting like this.
This is okay, but I will say it's one of the more likely positions that will start to lead into, because they'll start to just go straight down into this. Ooh, you see, it hurts. You shouldn't be able to do that.
Okay, so
the last thing I was gonna say is animal walks. It'd be really good. So, like I mentioned, having chairs out and have them crawl underneath it. Set up obstacle courses just where they have to crawl over top of a pillow, even like on their belly. It just gives them something that they have to go over. Crawling underneath things, having to climb up and over a chair to get something. All of those changes in position are going to be challenging them to work on that core strength. And then the other thing was animal walks. So having them do the crab walk and having them lift their bottom and try to walk like a crab or like a bear. You can come up with all sorts of different ones.
the duck walk, do you guys do that?
Which duck
Well,
walk
like,
do you do?
Oh, there's more duck walks? Like where you walk like this
Yeah,
and grab your ankles?
Yeah, like that, or let's see if I can do the bear walk. So the bear crawl, a lot of kids will want to do it like this and go super fast, but doing it with your legs up and your arms up, almost like a downward dog you can do, and then having them move their limbs, but keep them kind of straight.
You guys didn't know we were going to go over so many things today, but I would say if you have any questions, reach out to either Nicole or myself. If kids come in W-sitting, I do want to see them sort of regularly so that we can help correct basically the pelvis more so in my standpoint, and then from there getting the muscles in check with one another. So I would say at least weekly I want to see you for a little bit. Nicole's schedule is probably different with that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if you're noticing a lot of core challenges or challenges with core strength, then it would be worth it to probably look at getting them into either PT or OT as a young kiddo, just to work on that if you notice. Because any sort of core weakness is going to lead to having harder times sitting up at the dinner table and staying seated, being able to use their hands appropriately to draw and write or to open containers, just all of those skills. The function from our hands comes from having core stability. We have to have that to be able to actually use our hands efficiently. So if you notice any challenges like that, it could kind of lead back to not having the core stability and strength that they need. Yeah.
Anything else?
I think that's it.
Okay, if you guys have any questions, please comment or reach out. I have no idea what we're talking about next week. We kind of just like to come up with it on the fly. So if there's any suggestions, again, please comment. And I think that's all we have for you. Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks.